Welcome to the Occupational Safety Leadership Podcast, episode number 38. In today's episode, we will talk about the negative attributes of safety audits. In episode 37, we talked about the positive attributes of safety audits. In this one here, for the negatives, I almost never hear these from safety professionals. I hear them from people who want to keep down the expense, who don't see a need why to do this. But like all things, we have to balance the positive attributes with the negative attributes. So let's get started on episode 38. So again, I'm a big proponent of the reason why. The reason why we do safety audits is to assess the workplace. If we don't do an audit of the workplace, we're not properly assessing the hazards out there. Now, people will argue that as you walk through the workplace, you are actually assessing the hazards every time. And that's true, but many times we're not focused on assessing the hazards. We're focused on getting from point A to point B. We have to get a task done, so we're focused on that task, and we're not focused on accident and incident prevention. So let's look at the five negative attributes. And these are ones that I've just kind of heard over the years. So don't think this is the end all be all. They may apply, they may not apply in your workplace, but these are the five that I've seemed to run across over and over again. So the first one, it's very time consuming. Second one is costly. The third, it can be disruptive to the flow of the production. And whether that's a factory or anything else, people are there to work and not there to have to stop, answer questions, and everything else. So it may create resistance. So this is a very interesting one. And of course, with all of these, we'll dive into them as we go. And then it may lead to complacency. So we talked about complacency on the positive attributes too, but you can have a negative attribute on complacency. So let's sit down and break these down. First one, time consuming and requires significant resources to complete, which can be a burden for organizations with limited resources. So I've never run into a company anywhere that didn't say we have limited resources. So this is one that I hear over and over again. Kind of hard to take it serious at all times when I can, to me at least, I can see some resources that aren't being used efficiently then. So so the first one, it's time consuming to do these audits. And this is really when we're going to do a deep dive. We're not just doing a surface walkthrough. We happen to be there for an hour. We're really doing a deep dive and understanding. Second one is costly. So not just the cost talking to the people and away from the production floor, but travel costs for anybody who has to go there. Quite possibly the person who oversees this site is not there as well, or has multiple sites, so now they have to make a trip to the site too. Sometimes you have outside consultants are used for this whole thing. So I think that that's an awesome thing, because then it brings a detached view to the workplace. But I also understand that it has additional cost when outside consultants are used. And every so often I hear about specialized equipment. I have not run across this in my ventures, but quite a few people have told me that they've had to get specialized equipment. And many times it could be for the inspector, who has to go out and get a full body harness for fall protection, or just other things out there. So let's go on and talk about some other here. Can be disruptive to the workplace. I've never been to a workplace that they didn't say we want to stop everything and focus on safety. So I can see where, to some people, this is a valid argument. Creates resistance. This is one that I really had a hard time with. There are some places that don't have a very positive safety culture, so it kind of creates almost like a us and them mentality. Sometimes people feel like they're being judged, like everything's awesome, and now I've got this person who's going to come out and they're going to tell me if it's awesome or not. Just like I'm not happy with the workplace, and this person will come out and tell me if I am happy or I'm not happy. So sometimes we can see resistance from people because they just feel that whole judgment that's out there. It's not about judgment, it's just the facts, just like Friday said on Dragnet. Only the facts, ma'am. Only the facts. So, and then let's talk about may lead to complacency. So when we do safety audits over and over again, eventually people are kind of less vigilant about safety and lulled into, um, if there's nothing wrong, why are we doing this again? And just complacency is a tough one because I've never worked at a place long enough or only worked at one place that I ever felt complacent about. But I guess I can see it in some people they have a really good culture. They haven't had accidents, injuries, they don't have chemical spills, they don't have these things, and they just see it as a complete waste of time, which they ought to take that as something to have a lot of pride in and everything too, because I know that when somebody comes to my sites and wants to do a audit, I feel really good when the person leaves and says, there's only a few things to work on. And sometimes it isn't even that it was wrong. It's that the person says, well, maybe you can make it a little better in these places too. Um, so people have different needs when it kind of comes to if they feel judged or not judged then. So let's sit down and go over these five. Of course, again, these five are not the end all be all. So I've heard of the negative attributes of safety audits. They're time consuming, costly, can be disruptive, may create resistance in the workplace. It's a tough one, and it may lead to complacency. If nothing is found over and over and over again, eventually the people really don't take the safety inspections. They're not really worried about the safety training as much because, if there's no problems, there's no problems. So that is it for episode number 38. We talked about the negative attributes of safety audits. And like all things, you have to weigh the positive with the negative out there. If you're at a place that you maybe have not found that many things wrong or that many things that have to be addressed or the hazards are low, you may choose to focus to put them on a different schedule. You may say, I'll see you again in 3 or 5 years, as opposed to a super high hazard chemical plant that you may say, oh, I'll be back every single year, regardless of just because of the level of hazards out there in the workplace. Um, so I think we've talked about it. You got to weigh the good and the bad, the positive and the negative in this whole thing. So episode number 38 is complete. My name is Dr. David Ayers. Thank you for joining me today and have a safe day.